Hello YouTube friends. I just started doing a little job and I thought that you might quite like to do it with me. So I hadn't meant to make a video for today, but I'm going to turn the camera on and talk to you about what I'm doing here. It's the very beginning of January and I really love doing that live stream on New Year's Eve. Thank you to everybody who turned up for that, and also thank you to the people who've watched it afterwards. It's kind of like a crazy thing trying to keep up with the questions that quickly, but I did my best and it was very lovely to see so many of you there. Now, what am I doing today? I've been watching a lot of videos about everyone is scrap busting at the moment, aren't they? Karen at Just Get It Done Quilts has got a whole series on sorting out your workroom and busting your scraps. And, you know, there's that whole idea of Mount Scrapmore. I have the Himalayas of Mount Scrapmore, but then I think probably, if we're honest, we all do. But what I've been looking at, I know that Robin over on RS Island Quilts uses this sort of ticker tape means of making, and quite a lot of people do. And the latest along that I've done, that's what this is the binding for. And I got into doing that for that along and I really enjoyed it. I was using tape that's this wide. I'm going to have to tell you how wide that is now, aren't I? So let me get a ruler. This is a piece of quilt ruler that I sat on or kneeled on or something and broke it off at the end, so it's only tiny. It's dead useful though. I still use it. Anyway, this one is, I know this one is 2 1/4 inches, but then I decided to get some wider stuff, and this is, let me accurately measure this for you. Let's find the 1, not the 6. This one is 3 inches. So this is 3 inches wide. It's a little bit wider than my 2 1/4. And I was particularly watching Karen at Just Get It Done Quilts, and I like the way that she makes her scrap strips so that there's a 1/4 inch on each end, which means that you don't have to take the fabric off the paper to sew them together. You can take the paper off at the very end, because the paper does add quite a bit of strength and stability, which is why we're using it. It stops the 2 little pieces from unravelling. So I've got my 2 different widths. I've got some more of this size. But what I'm doing this morning is I've finally faced up to this challenge here. This is a massive box of Liberty scraps. Now, you know I love Liberty. I've done series about Liberty and I won't throw Liberty away. So if my Liberty's this big, it goes into this box here. Now, so what I'm doing here now is I'm sorting through. Liberty comes in many colours, but predominantly there's lots of pinks and reds and lots of blues. So what I've got in front of me here then, I'm just taking out a handful at a time, and I might bring you down a bit closer so you can see. I think I'm finally going to have to admit that these aren't useful for anything. You know, don't you though, that I'm not going to throw them away. I used to use these, and I still will again, when I'm making postcards, and that would be a little strip that I would stick on a postcard. So these aren't going in the bin, not by any means. I mean, no, they're not. So, but they're too small for the project I've got in mind here. So I'm going to set myself up with an iron beside me here so that everything's to hand. And then I won't get started with it today, but I'm going to make a start on Karen's method of piecing together tiny bits to make bigger bits. And then I'll end up with hopefully with a pile of red scrappy strips and a pile of blue scrappy strips, and then we'll make a decision about what to do with them. I haven't got an idea in my head about what to do with them, but I know that I want to do something. And it's an idea whose time has come. It has to happen. This has to happen. You see, this one was when I was cutting hexagons out of Liberty. So I might have to put that in the there's nothing big enough there pile. If you were all here, you could help me do this, and maybe you'd keep bigger pieces than me. If they're pink and blue like that, I'm just going to rip them in half and put them on their respective piles. And you'd say, no, that's far too small, Kate, or why are you throwing that away? So no scrap of Liberty is too small. Some of them are thin and not much use for this project, but they're going to live over there. Now this one, I used to buy a lot of Liberty fabric from a mill in Lancaster, which sadly is closed down now because there's no Liberty produced in the UK anymore. It's all produced in Italy. And so the factory that made Liberty in Lancaster, I used to go and visit it when I would pop down to visit my mum and dad. And you could buy seconds from there. So bits of fabric that, like I'm going to show you now. So this one has obviously been creased as it's being printed. And you can see, maybe you can see, that the pattern hasn't printed smoothly, but the fabric on either side of it would have been fine. So you could buy that for much cheaper. But it's actually, there's no consistent pattern throughout that, so that's going in the making cards pile. It's all good, because look, there's a lovely bit of blue. It's time. This is an idea whose time has come. So I wonder if you would like me to tip you down slightly so that you can see the work, and you can shout at the screen if I put something in a pile that you would keep. That's all right, Kate, that's big enough, because look, is that big enough? I'm going to say it is. It's Liberty. Can't throw Liberty out. Okay, so okay, what about if I tip you down a bit and you can look at the work instead of looking at me? I've set the iron up here now and my ironing pad, and so that I can just give these a press when I feel like it. I've also just been out for half an hour because it's the sun's really low in the sky, and the sun will set at 3:30 here, but when it's very low like that, it gives this fantastic golden light on the trees and the lake. So I've just been out for a little walk, not all the way around the lake, but just as far as the boats. And there are swans on the lake, and heron, and the usual mallard. And I just thought, if I don't go out now, I wouldn't have been out all day. So that's not a good thing, is it? So my blue pile is here. My reject pile is here, which might end up being used for papercraft. My pink pile is here. And what about my ironed pile is there? Okay, and so then every now and then I'm just going to get another handful out of my scraps here. And I think what I'm finding is I've got an awful lot of trimmings like this. An awful lot. But I've also got some thicker ones. And I made a cup of tea, and here's Rita. So we're having this kind of an afternoon, aren't we? A nice pleasant sort of time, sorting through Liberty that's long overdue being sorted, long overdue. Now, I watched Jenny, Missouri Star, dealing with scraps the other day, because I've been doing quite a bit of research for this. I've had this project in my mind for a while. See, that's neither blue nor pink, so that's going on the neither blue nor pink pile, and that's purple. And that's too small. I was watching Jenny and Misty doing, I think they did a live stream, and I just watched it recorded back. And she was making 10-inch squares with all of her quilting scraps. 10-inch squares, which she then just uses as fabric, so she could cut it again to make another shape or make half square triangles or whatever. I think I've a lot of strips, haven't I? I think I'm going to make this stuff, the paper stuff, with this, although there's not as much useful stuff as I thought coming out of here. Another thing, because I've been watching a lot of quilting videos, haven't we got a lot of quilting friends out there who are really, really generous with their tips and tricks? And there's this thing which I've shown, I think I may have shown before, but this is Karen, just to get it done quilts. And she might put a timer on for 30 minutes and then stop after the 30-minute timer goes off. Now, I've been using this to good effect when I've been making this quilt here over on Patreon, but I'm not going to put a timer on today. I'm just going to carry on doing this for quite a while until I've had enough. So look, now that piece of blue should rightly be in the other box because I have a box of Liberty that's big useful pieces. So that one's not going to get cut up. That's going to get put back in its rightful box. These are the bits that are going to get cut up. Look, that's a lovely little strip of blue. Give it a wee press. So I've got my setup here. It's good. It's really good. And those two are sewn together already, so I'll just press those and they can get cut in. I won't obviously have to undo those. Ow, this iron's hot. Okay, some beautiful Liberty fabrics, aren't there? Just gorgeous. And so that's the trip around the world block again. So I'll just open that out and press that so that that's already sewn together. So I think scraps, it's a little bit like when I was walking around the dam, I was thinking about what this is like. It's a bit like Alcoholics Anonymous, isn't it? My name is Kate and I'm a scrapaholic. We have to deal with them. And seeing all these videos that I've been watching and searching for how to deal with your scraps, and over on Pinterest I've been looking up scrap quilts, and so I'm not alone, you know I'm not alone. But I was thinking about why is it we let this happen? Why do we let this happen? Well, this is because, you know, not being able to throw tiny pieces of Liberty away. But why is it we buy new fabric when we've got fabric? I think you already know the answer to that. Because I get quite bored with my fabric. I look in it and I think, oh, I don't want to use that. Oh, but look at this beautiful jelly roll. I do. I get quite bored with my old fabric. And that's a mistake because it's just as expensive as the new stuff. The stuff you throw away, that's not Liberty. Let's put that on the not Liberty pile. These are very, very skinny. I don't know what to do with these because I'm not going to make this many cards, am I? Get rid of that. I'll turn the camera off now, do loads of pressing and sorting. I'll show you what my 3 piles look like, but I think it's very, very unlikely that I'll get into sewing anything today. So there's our, oh, that's beautiful, isn't it? Oh, it's all beautiful. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do then, is put some good music on, carry on doing this, and I'll bring you back at the end and show you what the piles look like. Well, it's much, much later now. In fact, it's dark, but it does get dark quite early at the moment. And I know this pile doesn't look much smaller, but I promise you it really is. And I've finished for today now. I realise now why people use a little timer, because you get to the point where you think, I wish I could stop doing this, but it's a little bit addictive and you can't stop. But this isn't going to be a project that I stick with until the end. I'm just going to keep going with this a few minutes a day whenever the mood takes me. And so it could go on for an awfully long time. So don't look for a finish anytime soon. So yeah, I'm quite tired now. I'm going to edit this video together for you now, and what I'm going to ask you to do is hit the like button. If you've enjoyed what you've been watching here and you think other people might enjoy it, hit the like, because that's how YouTube promote the video to other viewers who might not know about it. So that's great, thank you. And I'll see you back here, not necessarily with this project, but we will revisit this project when it's a little bit further along. But for now, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually sick of the sight of liberty. Just for today. I'll get back into it quite soon.